Hello everyone, it is Jen from Sundae Baubles with a video on the evolution of diamond cuts. We will talk about the innovations in tools through history that have made modern diamond cuts possible. We'll look at 7 different rings from my collection that have antique diamond cuts in them, and by the end of this video you'll be able to era date diamonds by looking at them closely. Here's a sneak peek at the rings we'll look at today. Do you know which is the oldest and which is the most recent? You will by the end of this video. What cuts a diamond? With a Mohs hardness of 10, a diamond cuts another diamond, and this is something that the early diamond cutters were aware of. So often, diamonds were used to cut each other and the diamond dust used to polish. Benvenuto Cellini left us a wonderful description and some diagrams of how this was accomplished. In his treatise on goldsmithing and sculpture in 1568, Benvenuto Cellini comments on a diamond's hardness, stating that you must always cut them 2 at a time and that no other stone can cut them. A skilled cutter would do so by rubbing 2 stones together until the desired form is produced. This was done by putting the stones into pewter cups and holding those against a wheel where they're rubbed with ground diamond dust and polished. This wheel is turned by hand as fast as possible and the weight increased to add pressure against the wheel in order to create that polished finish. The earliest cuts were table cuts and point cuts, and this is because they were the easiest to cleave. It took the innovations of the 16th and 17th centuries to evolve the cuts into formats that we're a little bit more familiar with. Let's take a look at a diagram of the evolution. Here we have a simple table that shows the evolution of diamond cuts. The earliest cuts were simply cleaved, and as you can see, over time, more facets were added as technology innovations improved. Let's begin looking at the diamond jewelry. We'll start with the oldest diamond ring in my collection, and this is a betrothal ring from the early 17th century. This ring dates to about 1600. It is an early gold betrothal ring. The buttercup setting holds a rose-cut diamond that was cleaved into shape, and the diamond is held in place by a rubbed over collet, revealing a heart. The side shanks show the open work that was done by early goldsmithing techniques. The next ring we'll look at is an Iberian rose-cut diamond, and this one is from the very early 18th century. It's recently moved on from my collection, but I have a video to share with you. Take a close look at the point that is on it, as it is a modified rose-cut finishing in a point. This Iberian gold ring was made around the turn of the 18th century. The rose-cut diamond is collet set in a teardrop-shaped crimped or pie crust setting. Rose-cut diamonds were very popular during the Georgian period, particularly in low-light situations. The next ring that we're going to take a look at is a mourning ring that is embellished with a halo of diamonds. And you will notice that these diamonds scintillate, and that is exactly what they were looking for by candlelight. This Georgian mourning ring features an enamel urn surrounded by a halo of ever-popular rose-cut diamonds. This ring is inscribed Anne Jeffrey, O.B. 7 March 1780, age 74. These diamonds are absolutely beautiful, and as technology evolved, innovations came that allowed for even more precise diamond cutting and finishing. Charles Field and Henry Morse came up with the brooding machine. Initially, it was steam-powered in the 1870s, and this allowed for high polished and a beautiful finishing and shapes that we're more familiar with. The first electric brooding machine was created in 1891. Let's take a quick look at the anatomy of a typical round-cut diamond. The upper portion is known as the crown. The table is the flat surface on the top. The girdle is the center line which separates the crown from the lower portion, which is known as the pavilion. The tip of the diamond is known as the cullet. Old and modern round-cut diamonds typically have 58 facets. Old-cut diamonds have been available since the 18th century. They were cut to maximize the surface area of the diamond, which is why old mine cuts often have a wonky look to their tables. Let's first compare the old mine and old European cuts. The crowns are quite large. Some refer to this as an ice cream cone shape. Their girdles are thick and unpolished, and their cullets, or the tip of the diamond, are lopped off. We're now going to take a look at some old cuts that are set into rings, and the first 2 rings date to the Edwardian period. It's worth noting that these old cut diamonds, old mine and old European, predate the settings. Often, diamonds were repurposed and stripped from their previous settings to be put into something considered more modern in order to upcycle. And this happened through the Victorian period all the way through the retro period and is still happening today. So the first ring we're going to look at is this beautiful trois et moi ring from the Edwardian period that has 2 old mine-cut diamonds in it. This Edwardian ring holds 2 old mine-cut diamonds. If you look at the tables, you can see that they're not perfectly round in shape. The side view shows us the telltale tall crown, and the girdles are unpolished. When you look down through the center of the stones, you can see the open culettes. The next ring we're going to take a look at centers on an old European single center stone. This ring is set with an old European cut diamond. This diamond differentiates itself from the previous diamonds because it is even more symmetrical. When we look at the table, we can see that it has a much more round shape to it. This ring has a high crown, and again, looking at the girdle, we can see that it is unfinished. And when we look down through the table of the diamond, we see the open culet. One of the most important innovations in diamond cutting was the diamond saw, and this invention came at the turn of the 20th century. The motorized diamond saw was invented at the turn of the 20th century, and it enabled cutters to accurately shape their rough in directions that previously were not possible due to cleaving. Bridging the old cut diamonds to the modern round brilliant are the transitional diamonds. Now, these are among the most fascinating and hardest to identify because they share some of the features of their predecessors. Let's take a look first at some diagrams so that we can understand where their similarities and differences lie. The transitional cut tended to retain the high crown that was seen with the old mine and old European cuts. The girdles were sometimes polished and became a little bit more narrow during this period. And last, the culet was often not lopped off. Now, transitional cuts differ based on the cutter, which is what makes them hard to differentiate. So you really do need to look for all of these characteristics in the diamond. The cut of the diamond impacts how it will return light. Older mine and European cut diamonds will return light from the sides, with the crown creating a dome effect. Round brilliant cuts push light up through the middle of the stone. Transitional cuts will create their light show based on the depth of the crown and the pavilion angle. Now we'll take a look at this ring, which centers on a transitional diamond from the 1930s. The center stone of this ring is a transitional cut. It can be difficult to identify these diamonds. The crown is still high, as was seen with the old European and old mine cuts, but the table is quite wide and shows that there is no open culet. Marcel Tolkowski is often credited as being the father of the modern round brilliant diamond. He was obsessed with the diamond's symmetry and came up with the proportions that created the ideal light return and flash and shine in diamonds. Let's take a look at some of his diagrams. The modern round brilliant diamond was cut for proportion, both optically as well as physically. Symmetry is what mattered. The pavilion depth, crown height, and table, as well as all of the angles of the cuts, became balanced. And in this diagram from 1919, we can see how specific all of the cuts were meant to be in order to maximize the shine. The girdle became a little bit thinner than previous, and the crown a little bit shorter, and the placement of each of the facets became very important. To the top, there would be a table alongside 8 star facets and 8 kite facets, with 16 upper girdle facets, and from the bottom, 16 lower girdle facets and 8 pavilion main facets. The culet became optional. Now, this is why dating transitional diamonds can be difficult, because the culet may or may not be present. The last ring that we will look at together is from the retro period, and this one contains a beautiful modern round brilliant diamond. This retro French ring, dating from 1945, has a modern round brilliant diamond set in the center of it. It returns light differently than the old cut diamonds that we've previously looked at. When we take a look at the diamond, we can see that there's no culet present, and all of the facets that we've looked at on the previous diagrams are present. Today, we focused on diamond cut, and that is an important factor that can impact the quality of your diamond. it impacts light return, and can really change the way a diamond shows up. I love old cuts because they really scintillate in all light situations, but others prefer the splintery, modern, round, brilliant return of fire. Now, if you'd like me to teach you more about diamonds and how to select a diamond, as well as the key characteristics like carat weight, color, and clarity, please leave me a note in the comments and I will be happy to oblige. Don't forget, each comment that you add on a video in April will add you into the draw to join our live Let's Make a Deal giveaway event on April 30th. The participants will be named on April 27th in a live draw, and we'll be giving away some fabulous prizes, including a diamond ring. So don't forget to enter, and please like and subscribe this video and get those comments in to influence what content I bring to you next. Have a great day.